Hello kids, we welcome you to our KIDSLAND family.
So kids, as usual, our teacher Mamo Kanu is in touch today to do today's lesson for you. So let's hand over the program to our teacher.
Yes, Joanna, today we are talking about the story of the two boy kings. Now let's go to today's lesson. The two boy kings. There were many kings over Israel from the days of Solomon until the time when they were carried away captives to Babylon. The kingdom was divided soon after Solomon's death, and a king reigned in Jerusalem over the kingdom of Judah, and another in Samaria over the kingdom of Israel. There were a few kings who tried to follow that which was right, but the most of them were men who were given to idolatry, and who did not help the people to remember the true God. The Lord sent them prophets to remind them of him, but they were often driven away or ill-treated. There were a few good kings of Judah, such as Asa and Jehoshaphat, and Hezekiah, and among them were two who became kings when they were very young. When Ahaziah, king of Judah, was killed, his mother, who was a wicked woman, killed all his sons, that she herself might be queen, all but a baby boy who was hidden with his nurse in the temple, and tenderly cared for by the good high priest and his wife for 6 years. Then when he was 7 years old, the priests and the Levites brought out little Joash and anointed him king. They formed a guard all about him. And when the high priest had crowned him, there was a great cry around the temple of God, "Save the king." The old queen heard this and came to see what it meant. When she saw the little Joash standing by a pillar with a crown on his head, she cried out that the people were plotting against her. The people did by her as she had done by her grandsons. They took her life. Then there was great rejoicing. The house of Baal was torn down, and the Lord's gold and silver brought back to the temple. And the good high priest began the worship of God in the temple after the manner of former days. When Joash was old enough to understand, he longed to make the temple beautiful again, for it was falling into decay, so he called for money throughout his kingdom. Everyone was asked to drop a silver piece in the chest that was set at the temple door, and more than enough was brought to rebuild the temple. And while the high priest lived, the king worshipped there with all the princes of Judah. But as soon as he died, they went back to idol worship, and killed the new high priest in the court of the temple, because he told them that the Lord would bring great trouble upon them. And so it came to pass, in less than a year the Syrians came and killed the princes, and took away the gold and silver treasures of the temple. Joash himself became very sick, and his own servants took his life as he lay helpless. It was quite different with little Josiah. He was only 8 years old when he was crowned king of Judah, and he had no one so good as the high priest Jehoiada, who was the teacher of Joash, to help him to do right. Even the holy writings that were given to Moses were lost, and the people did not ask to hear them read. But the Lord had not allowed his word to be destroyed. And when Josiah was having the temple repaired, the high priest found the rolls of parchment on which the law was written, and sent it to the king by a servant of the king who was a writer. Josiah was full of interest in the ancient book, and wished to know what was in it, and his servant read it to him. When he found that he and his people were not living as God had commanded in the law, he sent to inquire of the Lord what he would have them to do. And they went to Huldah the prophetess. She told the king's messengers that a great calamity would fall upon the kingdom because they had turned away from the true God. But because the king's heart was tender and full of desire to follow the Lord, it should not come during his lifetime. Then the king called all the chief men of Judah and the people of the city, both great and small, with the priests and the Levites, to the Lord's house, and there he read in their hearing the word of the Lord. It was like a new book to the most of them, but they were ready to follow the king in making a solemn promise to the Lord to do his commandments and bring back the true worship. So they had a great feast of the Passover, to which all the people came with offerings. And there was no Passover in all the history of the kings of Judah and Israel that was like this one, that was held in the 18th year of the reign of Josiah, after he had prepared the temple for worship, and had destroyed the altars of the idols. He went out to meet the king of Egypt in battle, and was killed. And there was a great mourning for him in all the land, for he had been a good king, kind to his people and faithful to his God. Jeremiah the prophet made a great lamentation for him, for he knew that one of Josiah's sons would be the last king of Judah, and that for their sins the people would be driven out of their own land to be captives in Babylon for 70 years.
So kids, today we learned a lot about the story of the two boy kings. We hope that your life will get many things from this.
If you are not connected to our website yet, connect to our website today and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then you can watch as soon as we post a video.
This is the KIDSLAND family.